Terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello, fashion enthusiasts. Hello, Jogja. Hello, Perth. And hello, everybody, especially those who spare time to join our talk show today by bringing the theme, the rise of modest fashion in Australia. Yes, fashion sector has a great potential to contribute to the economy, especially the Indonesian economy. With the emerging trend of halal lifestyle, the Indonesian market, which is quite large, still has room for further development. And in this backdrop, the Indonesian Fashion Chamber is holding the Muslim Fashion Festival or MUFES 2021, which aims to strengthen the Indonesian economy through local fashion industry. Your buyer MUFES gains its significance by inviting global Muslim fashion player. With the COVID-19 pandemic, which requires all activities to be digital and virtual, this could be a new opportunity for actors in the fashion industry to reach wider market. This can be applied by participating in virtually any international fashion event. This year, we are very honored that Australian modest fashion designer could be present in MUFES. Yes, she is the one and only Aisha Nancy Novakovic. Aisha Nancy Novakovic is the founder of Modest Fashion Australia, designer, community advocate, and mother of two. Assalamualaikum Aisha, how's life? Hi Aisha.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Pak
Yeah,
Apul, it's so
hi.
nice to be
No,
with you. And you can probably hear the noise in the background.
yes, yes. We are very honored that you could join our MUFES 2021 in Yogyakarta, my second hometown. I'm now based in Seoul, but I'm so happy to be moderating this session, presenting you. Indonesia actually wondering how is modern fashion industry in your country, Australia. But first, perhaps you would like to share us about your background and the project you are doing now down there at Western Australian Academy of the Performing Arts.
That's right. So I'm going to take you all out there in a minute, and I'm going to introduce you to one of our beautiful participants, Amina, who is just here beside me, and she's in a beautiful designer outfit. She's originally from Sudan, and we've been so lucky to have her talent in our show here that
That's
is
lovely.
on April the 11th. So yes, we are here. So I'm zooming from WAPA, which is the Western Australian Academy of Performing Arts, and it is the most prestigious academy of its kind here in WA. So if anyone knows who Hugh Jackman is, you know, Wolverine from
Yes,
Hollywood,
yes.
he was
So many
actually
big
a
names
graduate.
are from that institution. Yeah.
That's right, exactly. So we've been really fortunate and blessed, alhamdulillah, to have the support of the leadership here at WAPA,
Mhm.
and also from Community Arts Network to be able to highlight so much of the invisible talent in our very multicultural communities, because in Australia it's quite a different social setup, you know, being from Indonesia. So for those who don't know who I am, so my mother is originally
Indonesian.
from Tanah Toraja Asli.
Ah, Toraja. So do you still speak Bahasa Indonesia?
Apa kareba? Kareba Mela.
Apa
Uh,
keren?
all of my family is either in Sulawesi Selatan atau Jakarta. They're all over the place in Indonesia. I was born in Makassar, and I came to Australia when I was 6 weeks old. And my three younger sisters were all born in Australia, and my two boys were born here. So, you know, I have been raised here. My father is originally from Yugoslavia, from Montenegro. So
Montenegro.
obviously I am mixed, and you know, it's been a journey. As I grow older, I just appreciate my Indonesian culture and language more and more, and I love Indonesia so much. I can't wait one day to retire there, and it's so important for my children to be connected with my modest fashion journey. So I'm actually a law graduate. I'm about to be qualified as a lawyer here in WA.
Mhm.
And I come from a very different background of community development and working a lot in the multicultural and creative spaces. But in 2017, we did a big fashion show for the city of Perth. And then I kind of just fell into this space. I had to establish my company, Modest Fashion Australia, and I've been working with incredible people. Indonesia. I mean, you guys are killing it in Indonesia. You know, I love the fashion, the innovation, the creativity. And I want to take this opportunity to say, like, how disappointed I am that our own leadership here in Australia at the top levels of government and business are not doing more to stimulate this trade and cultural exchange. I know we have like IA Chepa and there's so many other things there. But can I say that when we are Zooming together like this, this is where the magic happens. We're not waiting for government to open up the doors. We are building those people-to-people relations and starting these conversations. I want to hear, I can't wait till the borders open. As you know, in Australia, because of COVID, we're not allowed to travel internationally. But as soon as you have a place for me to come, you know, I'm there. I'm there in a heartbeat. I'm going to be there in Indonesia and doing some good work and bringing my team. So you tell me when to be quiet. What other questions you want to know? Because I also want to.
Yes, before coming to Modest Fashion in Australia, we would like to know first, how is the landscape of fashion industry in Australia? As a four-season country, it must be very different from that in Indonesia, right?
Very different, very, very different. So I can say that I'm really proud of the designs and the quality of so much that comes out of the fashion industry here. But I also feel like we don't do enough to promote more diversity in the fashion industry. In WA, we no longer have a peak body for the fashion industry. So there's currently a gap, but nationally we still have our bodies that are there to promote fashion. I think that in Australia there are so many opportunities for Indonesian designers to come here to showcase, to bring their products over. That's part of what I do to help facilitate that. And I also think there's opportunities for Australian designers. I mean, I've spoken to Australian designers here who are desperate to actually have presence in the fashion market in Indonesia, but it hasn't happened because there are lots of barriers in the system. So can I say that, you know, am I 100% happy with how things are at the moment? No, but am I excited for the future and the opportunities? Absolutely. And that means that there's a lot of work for people like you and I and our respective teams to do.
What about the modest fashion in Australia? When was modest fashion firstly introduced in Australia?
Yeah, so there's lots of modest fashion, like smaller players, and there are some like really big brands, especially in the eastern states. So if you say go to Sydney or Melbourne, and Amina here can actually attest to that she's originally from Melbourne, where there were so many more options, shops that you could go to, where you could buy hijabs. One thing that would be different here in Australia is, you know, in Indonesia, you can clearly say, you know, it's Muslim fashion, it's Islamic fashion, it's modest fashion. In Australia, we tend to use the word modest fashion instead of Muslim fashion because some people call it, whether they're scared or they're prejudiced, you know, or they think that, you know, only Muslim women are going to basically dress modestly. You have to remember that the Muslim population in Australia is only just over 2%. So we have quite a small number of Muslims. So if you want to actually like sell your clothing, you have to make it appeal to even non-Muslim women and men. And personally in my business, so I have a website called secretsky.com.au and I have a boutique. Do you know that almost half of my clients would be non-Muslim women?
How many the percentage? Many?
Quite broad.
How many the percentage of your client are non-Muslim?
I would say a good 40, sometimes 50%, especially in the early days. And then I did a lot of markets at Islamic stalls and so on. So can you hear me still?
Yes, of course.
Okay, beautiful, because I can hear the music playing in the so yeah, so I would say a good 40%, and I wouldn't be exaggerating. Yeah. So you'd be surprised. I mean, here in Australia, it's the aesthetic for fashion. Over there in Indonesia, we like bold patterns and batik and a lot of ethnic fashion. Here in Australia, it's a little bit more on the plain side, or they have a different way of dressing. They need to go to the workplace, which is a lot more plain. It's not as exciting. Funnily enough, you'll find a lot of white Australian men who love wearing batik shirts as well, for some
Really?
reason. Yeah, absolutely. When
Amazing.
so it's like pretty cool. But I think it's a different cultural mindset. And one of the conversations that I've had with our Indonesian designers with whom we've been working, I shout out to Mbak Ifa Dewi and Niana and Leah Mustafa and Ibu Jenny. They're wonderful, wonderful people that I'm working with. That it's about toning down some of the fashion just to make it have broader appeal in Australia. And the sizing is another issue. So in Australia, you have a lot of tall people, and they're like have bigger sizes, and Indonesian people are kind of tiny.
Smaller.
And like, look at me, I'm not exactly a typical Indonesian either. So it's like, can you get me extra large, please? Which over here is not that large. Yeah. So these are the issues that we need to troubleshoot in order to build the business.
Okay. Well, I'm going to get a little bit up close and personal with you. What about you yourself as a modest fashion designer? How did you stretch yourself at the beginning to enter fashion industry, especially modest fashion industry?
Okay, so just to be clear, I'd love to call myself a fashion designer, but I'm not. I'm a fashion business owner, and I work with a lot of fashion designers and artists. So yes, there are times when I have to step into that design process or, add that stylistic flair. But for me, it was very accidental. So for years, I've been volunteering in the community here for over 20 years, and I've done, little fashion shows for the community, and I was always very interested. I've been wearing hijab since I was 12 years old, out of my own choice. And so I understand what the challenges are. In things like in summer, it gets really hot. What do we wear to work? How do we find dresses with long sleeves? If we're playing sports, what can we wear? These kinds of challenges. So I know what's going to work for a covered woman and what may not work. But it was really the turning point came in 2017 quite accidentally. I was at the Indonesian consulate. There was a networking business function, and I ran into this government boss. His name is Rob. And he said to me, I love what Muslim women wear. I've been to Indonesia, to Malaysia, to the Middle East. It's very beautiful and colourful. We really should make Perth the hijab fashion capital of Southeast Asia, or we should make it a hub. And I said, that's really interesting coming from a white, non-Muslim man who really encouraged me to explore this further. Then he connected me to some people from within Telstra Perth Fashion Festival. We came up with this multicultural fashion show in the city. It was the first of its kind in 2017. And then it's kind of been non-stop since then. And to be honest, back in those days, I always had this dream that I would connect with the IFC, the Indonesian Fashion Chamber. Can you believe that this is a dream for me coming true right now today, that I get on your forum, and I feel so humbled, alhamdulillah, shukrullah, that I can be here.
hopefully when the pandemic is over, you could go directly to Indonesia to introduce your creative arts to Indonesian audience. But there is our participants here. His name is Sulistiawan. I'm sure that he is a journalist from Yogyakarta Post. He has several questions for you, 4 questions to be exact. The first question, as a predominantly non-Muslim country, why did Aisha choose to specialize in designing modest fashion, and how did modest fashion develop in Australia? That's the first question from Sulistiawan. I will read along the next question after you answer the first question because it's quite a lot.
Thank you so much for your question. That's a beautiful, important, and relevant question. You know, it's so interesting living in Perth, in Australia, because Alhamdulillah, I'm a Muslim and I became a practicing Muslim when I was about 12 years old. And, you know, I used to actually wear niqab. I used to cover my face.
Yeah.
And, you know, in this country, in this country to wear the niqab, you know, is difficult because you're always getting attacked, and I wore that for 7 years. And it's funny because in Australia, we do have a Muslim community, and do you know how hard it is to find simple things? Like, I think in Indonesia, the Muslims there take it for granted that they can go and they can get, you know, anything they want. They can get the undergarments, they can get hijabs, they can get whatever, they can get sleeves, they can get dresses, abaya, everything, baju kurung, baju kebaya. It's not easy for us, so we're constantly really frustrated. And then, you know, it was this idea of, I've got to explain something, right? The Muslim community here is very multicultural. So if you sort of hang around a lot of people from the Middle East, right, there's a stereotype that Muslim women only dress in black. You know, and people would often ask me, are you orang Arab? And I would say, no, I'm actually Asian. I'm from Indonesia. And in Indonesia, we love color.
Colorful.
Exactly. Colorful birds. You know, and we're not shy of color. Even the men wear bright pinks to match, and blues and yellows and what have you. Yeah, exactly. But in the Middle East, it's different. And so that became quite a dominant cultural influence. And I was like, well, hang on. I'm not Arab. Why am I expected to dress in Arab clothing? By the way, I love Arab clothing, don't get me wrong. But I thought, no, we need to change things and show the beauty of the way that Indonesians also practice Islam and how the women wear hijab. It's different. So it's different in a good way, right? So I thought, no, we must do something. So that's why I fell into modest fashion. And also modest fashion is a really powerful way to make dawah. You know, you can become very political, and I have been a radical political. I used to protest and speaking there, and, you know, but I find that fashion, culture, and the arts can be more powerful to actually communicate the beauty of Islam and also the empowerment of a Muslim woman. And you've got to hold yourself up with pride living anywhere, whether you live in a non-Muslim country. You know, we have a duty to represent the best of our religion, of our culture. And when people, a lot of, you know, non-Muslims, they come, they say, oh, we love what you're wearing. It's something that they even want to buy from me. I've even had, you know, non-Muslim women saying, gosh, I even want to wear a scarf. Is that okay? I said, why not? We're not the only women in the world who wear scarves or hijabs. Do you see? And then you start to build friendships. This is why I do what I do with modest fashion.
That's a very strong statement, dakwah through fashion. Wow.
Yeah.
That's very cool. But it relates now, it relates to the second question. As a fashion designer with Indonesian descent, to what extent does Indonesian culture influence your fashion work?
A lot.
Second question.
A lot. Definitely. So for me, it's a huge priority because we are neighbours, and it's love thy neighbours, and it's also about educating the average Australian that Indonesia isn't just about going to Bali once or twice a year, you know, and drinking bintang, you know, when, you know, having a cheap holiday. We have a lot to show, and I feel like fashion, culture, and the arts is a way to build those bridges. So when I have those garments in my collection and on my website and in my store, you know, it's like hand stamped batik. You know, there's art, there's culture, there's storytelling in there. So many even non-Muslim Australian women and men have bought batik garments from me, and also Muslim women from other cultures love the Indonesian designs. So can you see how I'm using the Indonesian fashion to actually, like, not just drum up more business, but to promote Indonesia. Indonesia is going to be by 2050 the fourth or fifth largest economy in the world. And yes, so mashallah, I look forward to seeing this dream. I want to be part of making that dream come a reality. Guess where Australia will be? Number 27, if we're lucky. And guess what? The modest fashion industry is valued globally at over, you know, US $300 billion. Okay, that's a big number, and I think Indonesia should rightfully take its place as a major global player and get a huge slice. You know, women in Indonesia who are designers. That's grassroots empowerment. We're supporting those local businesses, and we're also supporting local businesses here on the ground in WA too.
All right. Let us go to questions from Mr. Sulistiawan. He's a journalist from Yogyakarta Post, the leading paper in Yogyakarta. The third question is, what is the current trend of modest fashion in Australia in the last 5 years?
What's the kind of what in the last 5 years?
The current trend of modest fashion in Australia.
Trend, yeah. So as we know, trends come and go. I believe that about 2 years ago, there was a huge spotlight on modest fashion, with a lot of, you know, big brands coming on board like Dolce & Gabbana and Nike, and all these other mainstream fashion labels, which are very recognizable in Australia. I think the trend in the last 5 years has been a growing awareness about what modest fashion is, and a lot more experimentation. And you can see the rise of a lot of modest fashion influencers through Instagram and TikTok and YouTube. Here I feel like maybe in the eastern states, they have been doing a lot, but here we've been doing a lot as well. So it's been, I believe it's been a strong trend upwards, and we need to continue this representation. I feel like a lot of brands are adopting more modesty principles to appeal to a larger audience. I think another question would be, what is the modest fashion industry in countries like Australia, the US and Canada and Europe? What are they going to look like in another 5 years? I think we're really very much at the beginning stages.
Yeah, but regarding with the pandemic, this is the fourth question. Has the pandemic affected the fashion business in Australia in your application?
Definitely. A lot of traditional retailers have closed down and gone online. So e-commerce, I mean, it would be the same everywhere, including Indonesia, has really skyrocketed. And the pandemic has prevented us from traveling, and we're doing much more like virtual shows. And you know, the blessing of the pandemic was that I was able to connect to so many other global players online, like Modest Fashion Russia, Miami Modest Fashion with Norsham Garcia, the team Ibu Jenny with Indonesian Modest Fashion Week online and her team. That has actually forced us to work more closely together. And that's going to help us prepare for when the borders open and we can really, you know, come together and actually have face-to-face offline events as well.
Well, talking about platform, as the founder of Modest Fashion Australia, perhaps you could share us what is Modest Fashion Australia? What kind of platform you are trying to promote through that
Yeah,
platform?
it's a very open, flexible platform, very inclusive. We are here to just provide general advocacy and promotion for modest fashion. We have a small team, but we love collaborating with other people and ensuring that there are those global connections and that we maintain that spotlight. And also the retail arm of Modest Fashion is Secret Sky, or Secret Sky Shop on Instagram, and that enables designers a place to actually like sell their goods through that website. So for example, if you have Indonesian designers, they can actually have a market presence in Australia through Secret Sky. And then Modest Fashion Australia works with other organisations to run events, whether locally or virtually online.
What about the support from Australian government on modest fashion industry? Do you get it? The support from the government?
That's why do you have to ask me that question? It's a good question. I think that there is some support, but it's not really there. Like in Indonesia, from the government, you guys have the economy kreatif, right?
Yes, Ministry of Creative Economy.
Yeah, we don't have anything like that. So that's not great. For me, the support has really come from the bottom up, from like the grassroots. It really hasn't come from the top down. So if you want to talk about like a grassroots startup, that's definitely me more than anything. Would I be open to getting more government support in the future if that's appropriate? Sure, but at this stage, it's very limited.
Oke, saya persilakan kepada para peserta di Zoom meeting ini bagi yang ingin mengajukan pertanyaan kepada Aisyah Novakovic, silakan untuk bertanya via chat room. Bagi yang ingin bertanya lebih nyaman dalam bahasa Indonesia, dipersilakan juga bertanya dalam bahasa Indonesia, akan kita coba terjemahkan. Oke, kami persilakan. Alright, while waiting for the other questioners, Aisyah, how do you usually get inspiration to your creation?
Oh, well, inspiration comes from all areas. So I work with amazing people, and it's art, it's film, and one of my current inspirations is Amina here.
Amina, say something to us, Amina.
Yeah.
Well, we are also curious about you.
My name is Amina, and I am aspiring to be a model.
So Amina is someone who might even have some gigs in Indonesia. So I'll actually, let me show you some of the inspiration, and with Amina as well. So Amina is someone who is starting out as a model. She'll be modeling and doing her creative piece on Sunday. So we actually have, if I can just turn this around, make sure, here we go. So she's going to be wearing this outfit. As you can see, she is incredibly tall as well, and she's not wearing any flats. So she is definitely born to be a top model. And I want to show you actually where we're at. Amina, do you want to come follow me? So we're going to go outside, okay, so it's not so boring for your viewers. So let's go here. Okay, so we're actually here. So let me just turn this around. Okay, so right now we are in the Roundhouse Theatre. And down there, I don't know if you can see, so we have got our amazing mentor, Guy Boyce, who's also a big supporter of modest fashion. So what I want to communicate is, in this country, which is mainly a non-Muslim country, you cannot believe how much amazing support I have received from all kinds of people, not just Muslims. people like Guy and other people in the community, the art community, the fashion community, they want to support a change in the fashion industry. And if I turn this around again, I'll show you, we've got Ashrid down there. So Ashrid is not even Muslim. She doesn't wear the hijab, but she styles our models with the hijab, and she's perfect at it. So I'm working with people who maybe sometimes you wouldn't normally work with, but they're so talented. And here I'll just turn it around. We've got Amina. So, all right. So again, so I'm going to actually let Amina talk to you a bit about her piece on Sunday.
Okay, so my piece was inspired by the life of famous people, from their journey, from when they start until the end. What is mostly shown is the glory of fame, but not really the breakdown. And what I want to show in my piece is the whole thing, the whole truth of it.
Yeah, so it's going to, okay, so it's going to really be, you know, she's coming out of her shell as an aspiring model, and she gets chased by this paparazzi, and then the fame becomes a sort of negative effect on her, and it causes this breakdown. So we talk about the potential of being a model, and you know, we know that there are many, well, not many, but we have a rise in the number of hijabi models who want to get into the industry. But the fashion industry isn't always kind. It's full of a lot of temptation. And so that's, I think, where our religion, our faith, our cultural values can really protect us as well. So let's see if I can bring it down here as well. So we're still discussing, and let me just take it here. So that's us. Yeah, and like I said, for those people who are just tuning in, we'll come out this way. So Amina, you're good. You can go down there and grab your, you know, instructions with the group. I don't want to keep Amina for too much longer, because actually she should be down there chatting with the group. But Amina, would you like to say goodbye to everyone?
Bye everyone, it was very nice to meet you, and hopefully I see you again another time.
Bye, Amina.
Bye.
Thanks, Amina.
Yeah.
So we're very lucky to have that kind of talent, and she's one of the participants in our creative development program. So I'm also the chair of another organisation called Roots TV, and I developed this program to really bring out the best in young aspiring performing artists from multicultural communities who often don't get a chance to shine and to show the world what they're made of. And we have a lot of beautiful Muslim girls in hijab who are rap artists and singers, those who are into fashion, and they always give me inspiration. So I think inspiration, you know what's really important to me? I don't like doing what other people are doing. A part of being a creative is constantly pushing the boundaries and being original. And that's what I love about Indonesians as well. That they're always pushing the boundaries with modest fashion. They're doing things that are incredible. You have to understand Indonesian people are just crazy when it comes to their ideas. So I'm obsessed with the Indonesian fashion industry, actually.
Yeah, and you are half Indonesian yourself, and living in Australia. Do you find it difficult to navigate your professional career as designer in Australia? Do you also adopt a bit of mainstream Australian values in your creation?
You know, for me, having all these different cultural influences in my life is my special superpower. Because, see, I'm half Yugoslav, so that makes me European or half white. And we have a big community of Europeans here in Australia. And I also, you know, my ex-husband, who's the father of my children, he's half he's half Arab and half Italian. So my kids are also very mixed. And you know, growing up, it was like, yeah, I've got to navigate all these different cultural identities. You know, and when I was growing up in Australia, you know, I always wanted to be like, have the blonde hair. I didn't want to look Asian. I wanted to look like the white girls at school. And now that I've matured and I've grown up, I love being Asian, and I love having access to all these different cultural influences. And by the way, because we're so multicultural, you know, there's like a big Turkish community, there's a big Middle Eastern community, big Somali community, African community. So I have friends from everywhere. I go to their weddings, get to eat their food, listen to their music, dance with them. It's fun. Like my cousin, hi Halmia, I don't know if she's listening to me. Halmia should be in Palopo right now. She even said to me, oh, you've got so many friends from, you know, different parts of the world. I said, well, don't you? She said, no, I live in Indonesia. I said, oh, okay. You know, but I get it, you know, like it's very homogenous compared to the multiculturalism of Australia. So that is one beautiful advantage, that you get to mix in and learn about so many people. Yeah. So in that sense, being of mixed heritage allows me to be a bridge between Australia and Indonesia. And inshallah, I would love to play that role more and more if given the opportunity.
I cannot wait to see what you could do to us to bridge the country. And how do Indonesia itself in terms of modernization global play?
In terms of innovation?
Modus fashion global player or powerhouse of modus fashion.
Oh, what are my thoughts?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that there are definitely some big global players emerging in terms of platforms, leadership, and businesses. So if you've been watching like the Turkish scene, for example, Modanisa is set to become Turkey's first billion-dollar unicorn company, which is incredible considering that 100 years ago they became secular under Kemal Atatürk and hijabs were banned, and now hijabs have become like this business model to actually become the first billion-dollar company. I mean, to me, that is just a great irony of history, but I love that twist. So can you see how fashion also has a lot of strong political implications? But that's not to say that we become politicized. You know, we have to remain politically neutral because at the end of the day, we're here to clothe people and give people options regardless of what they believe. And I love working with the people in the US. I think the US, being the largest economy in the world, is a place where you have to connect into. Perfect person to connect with would be Miami Modest Fashion Week founder Norsham Garcia, who really is such a pocket rocket. And by the way, did you know that ethnically she's Bugis? So yeah, so her background is Indonesian and she grew up in Malaysia. So, you know, there's another person there. And then you've got Russia. Oh my gosh, they've got 25 million Muslims living in Russia, and they are really focusing on a lot of luxury. So, you know, Alexander Bogsa, who's not even Muslim himself, and he's a male, and yet here he is. He has seen the business opportunities, and he is demonstrating such amazing leadership. And then you have other, you know, key players in the Middle East as well, and it's up to them to really reach out and to continue to build those bridges, because there are plenty of people like us. You know, okay, I won't exaggerate and say plenty, but we have enough hands to join forces, and we need to, because in these industries we need to build those alliances. By the way, modest fashion is just getting started. Okay, we are only warming up. I think we would need another 10 years of hard, consistent work to really build that momentum to reach critical mass. Do you see what I'm saying? So yes, we can get excited now, but I'm really excited about where we can take this.
Aisha, because the time limits us, I'm afraid that we only have one final question. This is from Eva Daneves. The question is how to participate in Australia Modest Fashion and how can Eva Danev get there?
Hey, hello, Eva. Why don't you PM me, DM me? I'm at Modest Fashion AUS, or my Instagram is Aisha Novakovic. Send me a message and let's talk. I'd be very happy to see how I can help.
Wow, that's perfect. Do you have any plan to have collaboration and to cooperate with Indonesian modest fashion designer, by the way?
Do I actually already cooperate with them?
No, do you have any plan to have a collaboration?
Oh, absolutely. I'm already collaborating with them. By the way, this is my son. Want to say hello, Zach?
Yeah, what's up, guys?
Say Assalamu alaikum.
Yes.
To Indonesia.
Assalamu alaikum, Indonesians.
That's my baby. So he's 13 years old and he's learning Bahasa Indonesia at school. But he has a long way to go, don't you? Anyway, so we already currently collaborate. This is Astrid Sinabu, who works with me as well with Modest Fashion and our creative director. You catching your breath? You need to go. Well done with the rehearsal.
I just have to rush. I have a photo shoot now.
You got a photo shoot? All right, so that means that I will call you later.
Okay. No.
All right.
Nice to meet you guys. And see you next time.
So, all right, speak soon. So, yes, I am. I'm actually in a WhatsApp group with my Indonesian team members. That includes Ifa, Ibulia Mustafa. I also have my social media managers based in Indonesia, and we collaborate all the time. And there's Ibu Jenny, of course, you know, the founder of Indonesian Modest Fashion Week Online. And yeah, and anyone that they bring to me and they suggest, I'm always open. So we need to collaborate more. I'm here, guys. Just know that.
Thank you, Aisha. Ya, kepada Ibu Danev ataupun kepada siapapun fashion enthusiast, fashion player yang ingin memasuki Australia Modest Fashion, silahkan bisa dikontak Ibu Aisha Novakovic secara
langsung. That's right. And I also want to mention Ibu Merda as well from Katokan. Very interesting Torajanese fashion. Beautiful, beautiful items. Torajanese motif is very unique. So she's doing great work too. Sorry, I know we've got to wrap up, don't we?
Dan Aisha Novakovic juga bisa dihubungi secara langsung via Instagram, via Facebook, ataupun via platform Modest Fashion Australia. Well, thank you once again, Aisha. May you get more successful in your career and all of your efforts. Now I give to the MC. Thank you for having me. Bye-bye. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Mufest and IFC and everyone who made this possible. And I can't wait till we meet again, inshallah.
Saya kembalikan kepada panitia.
Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Waalaikumsalam. Thank you. Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Sampai jumpa lagi ya.
Sampai jumpa lagi.
Thank you. Nice speaking. Bye. I'll leave now. See ya. You too.
Terima kasih. Saya live ya. Bye.